What's up, guys? This is Jay from COI. So we have a lot to talk about. I did want to start off though by saying thank you to Amber Kepton and Roy McKinney. I hopefully pronounce those names right. Thank you, new subscribers to the YouTube channel. We're growing. We're getting there. Hopefully someday it'll be as popular as the Spotify or the radio show. One note on that too, starting Sunday, I'm going to bring some of the guys from the radio show, and we're going to start to do a weekend review kind of thing, recapping all the stories of the week, and should be up Sunday night. Anyway, back to depressing stuff. Um, so we talked a little bit about Soleimani and his importance yesterday. I think one thing has to be noted over all this, and as we're seeing things come out today, the mainstream media, for the most part, and most of our congressmen and representatives are all calling him a terrorist. And that's fair in a lot of ways. Again, the main reason they're calling him a terrorist is because he is part of the Iranian Royal Guard. And when we pulled out of the deal with Iran, Trump declared them terrorists. That's one of the big reasons. But I think a lot of people would be really surprised to find out that another group besides Donald Trump who was celebrating the death of Soleimani yesterday was ISIS. Because Soleimani has killed more ISIS members than American troops than than we can count. He has been a real thorn in the side of ISIS. In fact, there was a statement on Iranian media that said that in the history of ISIS, there has not been a worse threat, and America killed him. So think about that a little bit. And might I also add, the term terrorist is not fixed. It is such a floating term. Um, Believe it or not, Turkey calls the Kurds terrorists. The Kurds call the Turkish terrorist. I mean, it's there was a point in time that we were calling some people in Venezuela terrorists, which is just ridiculous, um, and not just random individuals. I mean, statesmen in the Venezuelan government. And so we're at this point where we're seeing media really try to ramp this up. In fact, on Fox News, Rand Paul was doing an interview, and it was refreshing to hear not only a Republican, but it being Rand Paul, stick to his guns and his anti-war um, ideology. He was saying, how could anyone think that the attack on Soleimani would do anything but provoke Iran? Um, he did all but completely discredit Trump and Pompeo's theory of an attack against Americans. The reason why I say that as a theory is because New York Times released today that the main reason, again, we'll revisit, that Pompeo and Trump decided to attack Soleimani was because of an intimate threat that was against U.S. troops. New York Times released a interview, if you will, a comment, probably more better term, with somebody inside the State Department, and they said that in the past 3 years, nothing has changed regarding Soleimani and any new threats. So, how intimate? I don't know. Apparently, not very. One other thing, and this just happened. I apologize, a little broken up right now, and this is why. We have just gotten word of another airstrike in north of Baghdad. Um, See here, another airstrike hits an Iran-backed militia. An apparent airstrike hit a convoy belonging to a medical unit of Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces near the town of Taij, north of Baghdad, early Saturday, killing at least 4 people. And yeah, that just broke. So that that brings us into something else that is um, very concerning, and the PM, the Popular Mobilization Forces, or the PMF, is closely tied to Iraq. And Iraq was very outraged by our attack, as they would be on their airport. And this was prior to this most recent attack, because like I said, this just happened. I'm just reading that. In fact, quoting this, it says it happened 14 minutes ago. So this was earlier today. Iraq um, said that uh, lawmakers say that the surprise attack Trump did violated their country's sovereignty. They also demand U.S. troops withdrawal, as we are sending 3,000 more troops to Iraq. Um, and that, again, before this most recent attack. It looks like we're invading Iraq again. And I think that's the thing, again, the whole purpose of what I was going to do today was to talk about how it looks like we're going to go to Iran, go to war with Iran, and the battlefield is going to be in Iraq. Uh, this is just leading me to believe it more and more and more. It's incredibly concerning. Uh, we're having certain people in our government, like Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna, who are proposing legislation as we speak to try to block funding for a war with Iran. I don't think it's going to go very far. The Democrats often criticize Trump and say he's unfit to be our president, yet just about 3 weeks ago we gave him $22 billion to expand the military and gave more power to the NSA. So are they going to stop? No, because war is good for the elite and for the 1%. Um, we also, in this situation, have to understand that Iran has vowed revenge. Uh, and they're the first in a wave because Soleimani was not only important to Iran, and just to kind of hit home how important he was to Iran, um, he was like their living Rambo, John Wayne. You know, to say he was the equivalent of our General Patton is dwarfing how much they looked up to him. The Ayatollah said he was a living martyr. The amount of respect and the amount he was idolized would be comparable to one of our big stars here in America. Um, so they're of course going to retaliate. It's just it's not, you know, if, it's when. But they're not the only ones because see he also led the Sunni and different militias in the Sunni faction. That's basically, by the way, oh, I'm sorry. He led the Shia. I apologize. He led many of the Shia militia factions, and that's also why he's also getting. When they say that he's killed hundreds uh, of our troops, it's because of the Shia militias that put um, a lot of landmines and things like that that our troops unfortunately came across. So it's not like he himself went and did it, but he did, of course, support it, and which is, and I mean, he planned it as well. Like, to be clear, I don't idolize him. I respect him. I respect him like you do a gun. You don't love a gun. Well, some people do, but he was dangerous. But you do give respect to that. Um, but so there's all these fractions and these other groups of militias who are also going to want to retaliate. I think the revenge is going to come in waves, waves like we've not seen. I pray to God that it doesn't get nearly as bad as what some people have estimated. The reality is the coup force that he ran in Iran, they have agents and they have members in America. So it's not just a problem over there. And I'm not trying to fearmonger. I hope and pray, and I doubt that it'll happen. Anything will happen here, but it's something we have to be aware of. And it's something that President Trump and Mike Pompeo should have thought of and planned for before doing this just surprise attack out of nowhere. They have the capability to do some horrible things here in America. Um, but by that statement, that we had to kill Soleimani because he was a terrorist, because he ran the Shia militias, we then have to, and so many of our mainstream media and our politicians who are following this ideology, they have to change their ideology or they have to change their rhetoric to say that we should also be going after um, Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia did the exact same thing. In fact, Saudi Arabia, I mean, old Bonesaw over there, I mean, he killed one of our reporters. I mean, he is a bad guy, a very, very bad guy. But they also backed Sunni factions and militias that also killed troops in America or American troops. So to say this is why we need to go after Soleimani, well, then we need to go after Saudi Arabia as well. And you're not going to hear them say that because Saudi Arabia gives us oil. They're our boys. We sell them weapons that they use to genocide a group of people in Yemen. Yeah, so we're not gonna mess with that. Uh, I argue as well that we don't even want to win a war with Iran. I mean, if we wanted to win a war, we would have started in Iraq. And look how we handled Afghanistan. The whole point was to screw things up and then walk around in circles. And I think it's arguable to say that's what we've been doing in Iraq because endless war is really good for the defense contractors. It's really good for the elite. And hey, look, they don't have to pay a price. You know, all these politicians, all these defense contractors, all these mainstream media reporters who want us to go to war and think that there's a justification for provoking a beast like Iran. Yeah, why don't you go to war? Why don't you go fight? Instead of taking from the middle class and the poor, let's send your children to war. Yeah, if we did that, we wouldn't be any wars. They won't fight the wars themselves. They'll just send our children. They'll send us, the less fortunate. The ones who they'll promise us a hand up if you go kill these brown people with guns. And then they'll fuck us and leave us homeless. It's worse than that, though, because all around the world, countries are condemning our actions, killing Soleimani. It's easy to justify them when you're speaking in your own bubble and to say, well, we have proof that he was going to attack U.S. troops. Um, and so many of us in America are already saying, yeah, boy who cried wolf. We've heard this a million times, but we're not the only ones. It's the world now. Venezuela, Chile, Canada, many countries just in our own region are condemning our actions. And with this most recent airstrike, I think we're provoking Iraq as well. And I wouldn't be surprised If the military that we brought up in Iraq is going to turn against us as well. They don't want us there anymore, and in fact, like I said earlier, today they demanded our withdrawal, and we're sending more, and obviously just made another airstrike. Uh, and I know there's so many of us who don't want to see this, but guys, I don't see another way that this ends besides war. Um, it's deeply depressing. I'm 37, so I'm out of it. My son is 7, but to think of friends I have, to think of people I don't even know, but civilians overseas, thousands and thousands of lives, the trillions of dollars. And I guarantee you that Nancy Pelosi would sell her firstborn for Donald Trump's tax returns, but she is not going to make him pull up evidence that Soleimani was going to attack U.S. troops. You're not going to see the big players stand up and stop this because they want it to. There's a few select people who will speak for us and they will get ignored and they will be called crazy. And that's U.S. diplomacy. Again, I hope by some weird thing, I hope maybe Tucker Carlson talks to Trump again and says, "Hey man, don't do this." And he gets through to him, but all signs point to war. I hope that's not where we're at, but now that we've talked about how important he was to Iran, Soleimani was, how much Trump needs the war bump, and how we just kind of sit and wait now for retaliation. Maybe. Who knows? We might do another airstrike while I'm talking. I'm not sure. Um, but this just keeps happening, and it's just going to keep getting worse. Neither, um, yeah. I can sit here and easily blame us as being the aggressors. I think we were, but as soon as Iran retaliates, they're going to be dubbed the aggressors, and it will be an act of war. Even though, if you ask me, we already did the act of war, which is illegal. I mean, but we throw that out. Who cares about international law? Not important when we want to do something. And understand, for anyone who's still listening after 17 minutes of this, I am not anti-America. I am anti-Americans dying. And every which way I've looked at this, they were not a threat to us. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. You have a great evening.